forefathers give me strength.
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of a star.
With great power comes great badassery. Our favourite superheroes might be loved for all their morals and sense of justice, but let's face it, a huge chunk of their popularity comes from their epic fights and bossy standards. Now, you seem to want more and more with each video, so the TV region brings to you the top 25 most badass superhero scenes in the movies, Volume 2. I know she isn't technically a superhero, but Harley Quinn's portrayal in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is pretty much that of an anti-hero, so she meets the TVCU standard, okay? I'm sure most of us are fans of the Psycho Queen for more romantic reasons, but that doesn't take anything away from her badass fighting skills. I mean, just look at how she takes down all those soldiers during the chaotic escape scene. It was already cool enough to see Harley choke a dude with her legs while hanging off the ceiling, then she went ahead and took down an entire army in a pretty thrilling sequence. Gotta admit, it's quite amazing to see an assassin like her switch from silly to sassy in the blink of an eye. Margot Robbie might be stealing the limelight right now because of Barbie, but she'll always live rent-free in my heart as the Joker's deranged lover.
What?
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
If I mention the Joker, then you can rest assured the Dark Knight isn't too far away.
But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. To them.
Well, in this case, we're dealing with the Robert Pattinson version, but they've already teased Barry Keoghan as the iconic villain, so I can't wait to see that happen. Of course, we're dealing with badass scenes here, so I'm going to talk about how Bruce Wayne went from being the shadows to coming out of the shadows. Bro doesn't even need to say a single word as he takes down all those fake clown goons in a nicely directed fight scene that's got all the elements of a horror thriller emanating through its execution. After all the initial hesitation to accept a Twilight vampire as the new Batman, it sure was a relief to see Pattinson nail his role, and I'm totally on board for the Masked Vigilante's upcoming sequel.
Our scars can destroy us, even after the physical wounds have healed. But if we survive them, they can transform us. They can give us the power to endure and the strength to fight.
You must have heard of the name Mephisto, right? Big demon dude with an insatiable appetite for despair? Yeah, that's the kind of guy that you want to stay away from. Unless, of course, your name happens to be Nicolas Cage. I've always maintained that Hollywood's favourite madman is the perfect actor to portray overpowered figures from mythical lore, and the Ghost Rider film makes for the perfect justification of my statement. Spirit of Vengeance takes things to the next level when Johnny Blaze resorts to his iconic Fire Skull and sends the devil himself back to hell. Come on now, how many guys out there can proudly say something like that? It's the mark of ultimate dominance and further cements Ghost Rider as an undisputable champion. You gotta give it to Mr. Cage here. Bro plays the role of a flaming skeleton in one movie and a sunlight-sensitive vampire in the next.
So let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
I've completely fallen in love with this film after a few repeat viewings, and more so, its titular hero, V. It's a pretty simple name to remember, but epic characters always like to add some context. That's exactly what he does here with Natalie Portman. Of course, he's got to save her first from all those grumpy thugs, but the way he went about his job made me wonder if he was some kind of Shakespearean fanatic operating behind that mask.
And has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage Veer's most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Bro took down an entire gang all while speaking in riddles and using ancient English to make his point to the confused Evie Hammond. I mean, all he had to do was say his name V, but I guess such a simple tactic wouldn't really fit him with his brand, would it?
Thus I clothe my naked villainy with old odd ends, stolen forth from Holy Writ, and seem a saint when most I play the devil. Have mercy! Oh, not tonight, Bishop. Not tonight.
After I kill Victor, I'm coming for you. Order the animal, Colonel. You got it.
It was only a matter of time before the Wolverine was going to show himself here, wasn't it? My favourite action sequence from this film is the epic fight between Logan and Agent Zero's helicopter, primarily because it just feels very realistic, unlike the final battle against fake Deadpool. It's an extended sequence, but I'm fine with that because it only means we get to see more of Hugh Jackman flexing in his most iconic role ever. Wolverine's treatment of Agent Zero was already pretty savage to begin with, so this must have felt like rubbing salt into his wounds. The only difference here is though that Mr. Zero doesn't exactly survive his injuries. I kind of feel bad for him in that regard. The stunt coordination looked sick right from the get-go. And of course, how could I not shout out the final moment where Logan walks away from the explosion? That's peak alpha male vibes right there.
Logan, we work as a team.
Yeah, good luck with that. Class dismissed.
Dormammu, I come to bargain.
Being a badass doesn't always have to mean using a bunch of overpowered moves to beat up the bad guys. Sometimes all you need to learn is the gift of negotiation and you're good to go. Case in point, Dr. Stephen Strange, who manages to save the world from being gobbled by Dormammu, all with one simple line that would go on to become an extremely viral meme. The scene perfectly captured the MCU's ability to turn any troublesome situation into a comical moment while at the same time maintaining the seriousness of the overall objective.
You cannot do this forever.
Actually, I can. This is how things are now. You and me, trapped in this moment, endlessly.
It's kind of sad that they've lost that ability now with all their lazy writers, but hey, it's nice to think back to those good old days every once in a while, isn't it? You just had to be there. The whole "I've come to bargain" bit became an unbeatable trend for months to come after the film's initial release. Scenes like these were exactly why everyone was calling the Marvel franchise unstoppable.
Yeah, you know, you really should have stolen the whole book because the warnings come after the spells.
Oh, it's funny.
Of course, for the MCU to become the gigantic juggernaut it was up until the aftermath of Avengers Endgame, the studio execs needed blockbuster films that would make billions of dollars at the box office. After the initial wave of Phase 1 films, we finally got the first Avengers movie, and it swept the world with over $1.5 billion at the box office. Now, most of us might be remembering this film because of the final battle or Iron Man's sassy performance, but let's not forget the interrogation scene with Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson has proven time and time again that she's got the perfect mix of beauty and skill, with this sequence being just one of many examples. Of course, it's got badass written all over it because she performs an epic switch from damsel in distress to brutal assassin. Man, I strive to have the kind of confidence Natasha Romanoff possesses.
I'm in the middle of an interrogation. This moron is giving me everything. Look, you can't pull me out of this right now.
Natasha, Barton's been compromised.
Let me put you on hold.
Okay. See what you can do now.
I don't think the world was quite ready for Kick-Ass when it released back in 2010. Yeah, sure, it was during the time parody films were pretty popular, so it does make some kind of sense, but come on, a bunch of teens dressing up in funny costumes to fight crime? What is this, Teen Titans? Luckily though, for the production house, it made good money and we got some really likable characters. One of them is undoubtedly Hit Girl, who has now become one of Chloe Grace Moretz's more memorable roles. Look, she's basically Catwoman on a low budget, but don't let that fool you. If you remember the apartment fight scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. The woman literally marks her appearance by stabbing a guy right through his chest. Do you need me to explain that any further?
Sweet dreams.
Arthur Curry needs some love, especially with the Aquaman sequel coming soon. Yeah, I've been following the news and I know all about the controversy surrounding the movie, but let's not focus on some test screenings or problematic actresses. Instead, let's appreciate Jason Momoa for being able to grow out of his Game of Thrones role and cementing his name as a DCEU badass. Normally, you'd see me covering his fight against Black Manta or the final battle where he's riding Carathen. This time though, I'm going to talk about the trench scene where he dives in with Mira by his side and those sea creatures after his life. The reason this stands out to me is because of the visual impact it holds. James Wan really wanted to remind us that he's a horror film director, and it shows with the color grading and spooky choreography. Of course, Arthur comes out of it looking like a total boss man, so he gains my stamp of approval.
A son of the land, a king of the seas. I am the protector of the deep. I am Aquaman.
It's a bit sad, isn't it, when you see a couple of friends fighting each other over a brainwashed assassin. Yeah, I was just beginning to root for the bromance blooming between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, but I guess Bucky wasn't having any of it, so he pulled a Drake by stepping in and breaking up the happy couple. We all know that relationships are risky business, but in this case, we're treated to a brutal encounter that's just as cool as it is emotional. Yeah, I can talk about how the writers basically had to force Iron Man to lose against Captain America and the Winter Soldier, but I won't do that today. Well, at least not in detail. The fight scene in itself was filled with brilliant execution.
Let's kick his ass.
And easily stands out as the most memorable moment from Civil War. That's quite the compliment, considering this film also has Spider-Man's MCU introduction and that iconic airport battle.
So no matter what, I promise you, if you need us, if you need me, I'll be there.
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
How would you normally show that you're a badass? Simple humans might not have anything impressive to say, but the Hulk has his own way of cementing dominance. He simply smashes and humiliates puny gods to remind us why he isn't the one to be messed with. I mean, I can't really defend Loki here because the man kinda dug his own grave by insulting the angry green giant with his fancy words. The reason why this scene works is because of the hilarious timing, but let's not forget that it also showcases the Hulk's brutal strength. Can you even imagine how cool it would have been if he had stayed this way? Even in She-Hulk, I sometimes wonder what Bruce Banner must be thinking when he sees his alter ego inflict such damage. Personally, I'd just sit back and look for some popcorn to munch on.
Puny god.
All right, let's do this.
Let's go.
I think I speak for everyone when I say that Spider-Man is the most memorable Marvel superhero in the whole world. Before the MCU, we already had the Raimi trilogy, and before that, we had tons of comics to enjoy that were written and illustrated by people who actually cared about the character. So to witness Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland swinging together on the big screen was nothing short of nostalgic euphoria. This was the moment each and every one of us was waiting for, especially after a troubling time being locked up in our homes for over a year. Peter Parker will forever remain iconic, and this scene is as perfect as it can get when it comes to cementing his legacy in the film world.
What's that for? It's my web fluid. It's for my web shooters. Why?
Whoa! That came out of you.
Yeah. You can't do that, huh?
No.
If the God of Thunder threatens you with violence, you do really need to take him seriously. Of course, a villain as overpowered as Thanos wouldn't exactly pay such words much heed because of all those Infinity Stones, but Thor made sure he lived up to his promise.
Bring me Thanos!
The fight scene in Wakanda is probably one of the most epic moments in Marvel film history, and a huge chunk of the credit goes to Thor's legendary entrance and total dominance of the Chitauri army. His revenge fight against Thanos wasn't exactly as long as we would have liked it, but it did give us a huge chunk of satisfaction. I mean, bro defeated a guy with all 6 Infinity Stones simply by throwing his Thunder Axe at him. This scene could have made it to my top 5 if Thor actually went for the head.
You should have gone for the head.
What did you do?
I went for the head.
with everything said and done, it's time for us to forgive Will Smith for his Oscars antics and marital decisions. Let's not forget the fact that he's delivered hit after hit during his peak era as a Hollywood star, and a lot of those films still hold a special place in my heart. Of course, 2016's Suicide Squad is no Men in Black or Pursuit of Happiness, but it still gave us vintage Will Smith with an extra helping of badass. Deadshot has established an unenviable reputation for himself, and he does justice to it when he goes into frenzy mode against Enchantress's brainwashed slaves. It's a merciless display of skills and precision as he takes down each and every one of his targets without even a single flinch. Gotta say, bro totally owned this scene, and that's saying something because it's got Harley Quinn in it too.
Did he give you anything on Rogers? No, told me to go to hell. I'm going back to the compound instead, but you can call me anytime. I'll put you on hold. I'd like to watch the line blink.
Did you really think I wasn't going to give Tony Stark some solo love? Alright, that might not sound right, but I always come with good intentions, right? Don't I? This is a scene split into two halves, because I particularly want to shout out the way he violated Ant-Man with one simple question.
And Pym always said you never can trust a Stark.
Who are you?
Of course, that's just outright hilarious, but the badass moment arrives when he gets into his jet and transforms into the Mark 46 Iron Man suit in the blink of an eye. It's easily the most badass transformation I've seen in a while, because it takes us by surprise with the sudden shift in music. I could feel a rush of adrenaline the moment I saw it unfold on the big screen, and moments like these just go on to show that class will always be permanent.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth, but I don't want to see you gone. We need you, Cap.
I have a 9-year-old daughter loves Spider-Man. Who's she supposed to look up to now?
This is the guy that gave the key to the city to?
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Being a badass comes with its own set of responsibilities. Sometimes you've got to do something just to keep up your brand image, and that's exactly what Bully Maguire does in his first public outburst. Look, I'm all about the hustle culture, but you need to draw a line when it comes to falsely accusing people of stuff they didn't do. I'm sure we can all think of someone who fits into that category, right? Well, Eddie Brock clearly didn't know who he was messing with.
You're trash, Brock. Excuse me? Your picture's a fake.
Because, damn, Spidey totally violated him in front of a live audience.
You want forgiveness? Get religion.
It's bad enough that Peter Parker openly mocked and threatened his co-worker, but then he went one step further by getting him fired. If you don't know the context, he does come across as insensitive, but technically speaking, he kind of did the right thing there.
Look, I'm begging you. If you do this, I will lose everything. There's not a brothel in town that will hire me.
You should start OnlyFans.
I'm finally set free.
Well, well, well. Look who's popped up in my top 10. Captain Marvel is an extremely overpowered individual, no matter what you say, so it does make sense for her to land such a high entry. With the Marvels coming soon, I feel like I'm doing my bit to create some kind of promo for Brie Larson, because I do believe that people deserve a second chance, or in this case, should I say a second movie? Well, it still ain't a solo flick, is it? But something's better than nothing, right? Okay, enough with the jokes. The final power unleashing scene is pretty much the most spectacular moment in the movie, and to see Carol Danvers showcasing her full strength was a noteworthy sight. She even smacks away her own mentor in the blink of an eye, and that's as badass as you can get in the superhero genre. The 1980s were such a different time, weren't they? Bodybuilding was reaching brand new heights, and this moment was spearheaded by multiple legends of the industry. Of course, the most prominent name out of those guys was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who not only conquered the world of muscles, but also the world of films. As a matter of fact, his "Get to the chopper!" line in 1987's Predator was so iconic that he inspired none other than Captain America himself. Now you know which scene I'm talking about, because frankly speaking, we barely get to see the true limits of Steve Rogers and his super soldier serum. The Civil War chopper scene was the first time I actually started looking at Captain America as a grade 1 badass. Just look at those biceps pop out. I can only dream of flexing like that with my current workout routine that involves 3 daily naps and 6 evening snacks.
Hi, I'm Captain America. Here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have. Patience.
Kal-El, no!
There's badass, then there's super badass, and then there's pissed off Superman taking on the Justice League. We all know how powerful Kal-El really is, but since he's one of the good guys, he tries to refrain from exposing his true potential. However, if you end up killing him with a mutated Kryptonian general, I guess it's fair to assume that he's not going to be too happy about it. The solo fight against the Justice League was an impactful mark of dominance, which was basically Clark Kent reminding us that he's still the boss, no matter how many gods you throw at him. Bro casually took on Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Cyborg all at once, and didn't even break a sweat. He even had time to outwit the Flash and get back at Batman for that "Do you bleed" line. Need I say more?
You won't let me live. You won't let me die. Tell me. Do you bleed?
All fathers give me strength.
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of a star.
Sometimes it's not just about the strength or the wit, it's also about the endurance. In that case, Thor's extremely painful exercise to create Stormbreaker totally stands out amongst most of my other entries. The man literally takes on the full might of a collapsing star and channels the same energy into sculpting his new weapon. Just looking at his face was enough for me to feel uneasy, and this goes on to highlight the God of Thunder's true might. Of course, we all know the epic entrance that followed right after, so it was definitely worth the effort. Keeping all of this in mind, why on earth was he so jealous of Jane using Mjolnir later in Love and Thunder? Like, bro, you said it yourself, didn't you? Is it really a badass list if I don't have a Quicksilver entry on it? The kitchen scene might have won all the fans in the beginning, but it was the X-Mansion escape mission that made all of our jaws drop. It's impossible to fathom the speed it would take to evacuate so many kids out of an exploding mansion, and yet bro managed to pull it off like a smooth criminal. No wonder he tried those Michael Jackson moves in the middle of the rescue, eh? This is most definitely a flex when you look at the power on display, but at the same time, he also establishes himself as Mr. Dependable, at least when it comes to avoiding close-range disasters.
How'd you do that?
Work out, plenty of rest, you know, eat your green vegetables.
We're gonna jack you up!
Now, this one's for you if you're a vampire lover and not the romantic kind. Blade will always remain Marvel's first movie superstar because, I mean, it is actually a fact. It was his franchise that got the company interested in long-term film productions, and the state of the market in 2019 only went on to prove that it was the best decision they could make. I can't really say much about the version they're working on right now because it isn't exactly smooth sailing, but I can most definitely appreciate the nightclub massacre scene where Wesley Snipes shows off his combat skills. The whole vibe of the battle was out of the box that people couldn't help but come back to it. He's brutal, merciless, and he knows exactly how to make a first impression. This is an age where people are all about home delivery, and with apps like Grubhub and Uber Eats, I'd say life is pretty comfortable. The Gotham Police, however, have it even better with a special kind of delivery service for wanted criminals, the Dark Knight. That's right, Batman went all the way to Hong Kong to defeat an army of security guards and kidnap Lau from his own fortress. What really got me was the way he managed to grab a free flight by stowing away on an actual plane. To this day, I still want to know if he travelled back to Gotham using the same jet. That would have been a very awkward flight, especially with Lau sticking to him.
My turn.
It's not every time that you're forced to create an indestructible Iron Man suit in the middle of nowhere using nothing but basic tools. So when such an opportunity presents itself, you should really make it count. That's Tony Stark's motto for anything he does, and he proves his merit by creating a deadly suit that could defeat a whole gang of evil guards. Bro was kind enough to let the enemy attack first, and still managed to come out on top with those sick flamethrowers. The escape was also nicely executed, even though the landing kind of made the whole indestructible angle redundant. I do have to admit that while the newer suits are much cooler, it's the Mark I that stands out with a domineering perspective.
Not bad.
Okay, Master. Let's kill the whole
No matter what you do, there's always someone who's got his eye on you, and he most probably goes by the name of Clark Kent. 2006's Superman Returns is going to get all the praise it deserves from me, and the bullet to the eye scene was so epic that it managed to beat guys like Thor and Iron Man to take the top spot on today's list. But hey, if you think about it, who else was going to be number one? To see a freaking bullet get smashed simply by colliding against Kal-El's eye was something unreal back then, and still feels the same way even 17 years into the future. The most badass characters often don't need to say much to cement their reputation, and this scene pretty much epitomizes that statement. Hope you liked the video, so please subscribe to the channel and check the description for links to my socials. In the meantime, here's another video that you'll enjoy.